for our Manager's Report with Mike Shildt, brought to you by San Diego County Credit Union. It's not big bank banking. It's better. And joining us from Boston, Massachusetts, the manager of the Padres, Mike Shildt. And Mike, I just have to say, this last week was very impressive for your team to deal with the setbacks of injuries at the end of a long stretch of games with almost no days off, to play like you did through those last two series, especially against the Washington Nationals. I know you tip your cap occasionally. I'm going to tip my cap to you and the San Diego Padres, sir. What a nice week that was.
Yeah, it was a good week. Guys played well, and contributions throughout, and it was a really good week. And now we build on it and move on.
You know, he's just buttering you up, Skip, because I was going to ask you, how close is the nearest Chipotle to your hotel?
Man, you guys staying with the theme. I actually did not get Chipotle yesterday. I got Five Guys, so I went really off the chart.
Oh,
I like
all
Five
right.
Guys.
Five Guys is good. It's pricey, but, you're a major league manager. You have a per diem. I'm assuming that's pretty good. No, you know what? The first thing I thought of, that series, obviously, was electric. It was electric. It was electric. It was wild. It was like a baseball fan's dream. I mean, it really was. It had everything. But when I saw you get ejected the other day, the first thing I thought of was, all right, John Boy, I want to see this ejection on the next time I open Twitter, because that was pretty electric, Skip.
Yeah, I mean, there was a lot in that series. Obviously, a lot to unpack.
So much.
The whole homestand was pretty special. I created a lot of memories at Petco, but yeah, man, there was a lot going on. That ejection was, in my world, unnecessary relative to the situation, but anyway, made my point.
100%. And I did want to ask you, after the game, after cooler heads prevailed and everything, you had said, I don't necessarily think it was intentional in that case. And I mean, listen, I don't know it from Adam. I thought immediately as a fan was, oh yeah, he did that on purpose. What did you see, or based on, your experience, what made you think it wasn't intentional from Mackenzie Gore? Not that it matters now, but just kind of.
I just like to think that, I don't know. I mean, I like to give people the benefit of the doubt. I watched his reaction. I mean, you can feign a reaction.
Sure.
I get that part. Like I said, Mackenzie, I got to know him when he was with us, and have a lot of respect for him, and actually got to know his parents a little bit. We're both live in the same part of the world in Eastern North Carolina. So, I just, after everything, whatever point they felt like they needed to make, which, again, don't want to overly revisit it, didn't particularly understand it, but, I got my own club to think about. They made, their catcher made it. And, we clearly exchanged words, and people came out and, did the dance. And at that point, in my world, it's over. Now, whether he still, after all that, decided to hit him, only he and maybe a couple people in that club really, really know. But, I'd hate to think that was the case, but I like to give people the benefit of the doubt. But either way, intentional or unintentional, he's got to go. And somehow, after all that, and the warnings get, issued, somehow he gets hit and he gets to stay in the game. And I got to go.
But, 100%.
Anyway, we overcame it.
It's not just you can't throw at him intentionally. It's like you better make sure you don't hit him, whatever you do. And if you do, you are now responsible for whatever happens. I totally agree, Mike. Mike Shildt is with us here on 97.3 The Fan. I've got a question, and I don't know, as a manager, when you guys get bad news about Tatis and the stress reaction and Yu Darvish not going to be able to come back, how do you address that with your team? I know you got pros and they're used to dealing with injuries and stuff like that, but how do you not let that become here we go again, like, oh, that's more bad news we got to deal with? What do you do as a manager when those things come up during a season?
I mean, they come up. I mean, I don't, I think the public, at least for me, there's not like these team meetings, like,
yeah,
they're just not. I mean, we've been in the game a long time. Unfortunately, injuries happen. Like I said, losing Toddy and Joe and Bogey and Hugh and some of the gang, Manny at certain times. it's disappointing. It's a challenge, but that's ultimately what this game's about. How you respond to challenges, and you don't want to support those guys, but really you just you continue to figure out a way to compete with the group that you have, and everybody is locked into making sure they are ready to contribute, and of course some roles change and people get opportunities, and that's what this game's about, and it's about seizing the opportunity.
No question. And one of the guys that has done that, talking to Mike Shildt here on Ben and Woods this morning, one of the guys has done that is Kyle Higashioka. What a joy it's been to watch him play. I know he had a tough situation thrust upon him when he got here. Took him a little while to get going and get some ABs, because Campy was in there and he was catching Waldron and wasn't getting a lot of opportunity. Talk about a guy that's made the most of his opportunities right now. And you'd never know if he went 0 for 4 or, 3 for 4 with 2 home runs and 6 RBI. He's just a very even-keeled guy. How much does that help, your pitching staff when he's working with them?
Well, lots to unpack. So where do you want me to start?
Just with Kyle, like how him seizing the opportunity, his kind of temperament too in the clubhouse, and what he's like as a member of the San Diego Padres.
Yeah, he's been a great addition. Got a lot of great feedback from New York people, people in the industry I've known, people who played with him, about just how just quality a guy is as a starting point, and then clearly a good player and what his skill sets are. And he's really stepped up and done a nice job for us. He's a really stoic guy, really smart guy, got a good IQ, got a good way about him, got a good sense of humor with how he goes about things. Just a really, really, really good guy in the clubhouse, but also clearly a good player, and he stayed patient. He got his opportunities early on, not as many as maybe he would have liked. And, with Campy looking to be our everyday catcher and giving him those opportunities to prove his way, in the big leagues and establishing himself as that guy. And then, over the course of time, started to create a little bit more opportunities for him, which he's done more than earned. And of course, with Higgy going on, or Campy going on the IL, creates even more for him. And he's just done a nice job, and clearly some really big hits for us.
He feels like one of those guys as a manager, that like, he's good. Like, your attention.
Don't need to worry about him.
Yeah, like, you don't have to go, like, I don't know. That's just my perception of, we've interviewed him a couple times. He's a great dude, but he just feels like one of those guys as a skipper. You don't have to constantly, you good? Everything okay?
Low pulse rate.
Yeah, low heartbeat, and just can kind of walk by, hey, Higgy, hey, Skip. And, he's in the lineup and doing his job.
Yeah, no, he's great. I mean, we got a lot of guys like that. I mean, we got a really pretty professional clubhouse that, we just are able to communicate with. And, I spend a lot of time with our catchers, with our pitching coaches, and Brian Esposito does our catching and helps me during the games. We have a lot of communication, and I've enjoyed the communication with Campy and Higgy and now Sully about, how we're leading our staff and how we're seeing the game.
It's good to see Eggy back, Eggy Rosario. Obviously, there was some talk. He's got a great arm, but he's an infielder by trade. And with Toddy out, you might need some spots in the outfield. They said, might work on that. What does that look like, though? I mean, most of the time you get to the big leagues, you kind of know how to play a position. What kind of instruction goes on to maybe get a guy ready to play out of position, so to speak, if you want to get his bat into the lineup, especially against lefties, where he really does some good damage?
Yeah, he swings the bat good against lefties. Had a big swing the other day, to get inning started. Start off a 2-run inning, double off the wall against the lefty. He does do really well against lefties. So, we're just trying to be creative with what that looks like, where that bat can play. There's always a balancing act between the offense and defense, at least for me. Defensive run saved are just the ones important, the ones you drive in, but always want to try to get the bat in the lineup to do some damage appropriately, and perhaps an opportunity for him in the outfield. He's never, when I say never played outfield, but Jackson hadn't really either. So but it's a hard place to just pick up and learn, and he's getting some work with David Macias, our outfield coach, and see what that looks like, and we'll see if there's an opportunity that presents itself to get him out there.
Talking to the skipper, Mike Shildt, here on Ben and Woods this morning. And, boy, you guys haven't had any trouble closing out games when Robert Suarez comes in to, throw 6-9 fastballs by guys and, call it a day. But closing out some of the other games been a little bit of a challenge, Skip. The 8-0 that turned into 8-5 the other day had to make your little bit of hair turn gray for you. How do you?
Did I got a little bit of hair?
Yeah, you got a little bit of hair, right? And the hair that's remaining turns gray.
I thought I got pretty good hair.
You got good hair.
Yeah, decent hair, actually.
A little bit of hair. It's not great hair, but it's not a little bit.
So for you, when that happens, I mean, it's an empty feeling, certainly, and you want Cosgrove to be able to just get through that and not have to get Suarez up. Would you tell us a little bit about what kind of you're going through with that? It's happened just a couple of times. I know it happens to all teams, but it's certainly got to be a little bit frustrating.
Yeah, I'm not sure what you really want me to say. I mean, it's happened a few times. I mean, I really don't. I mean, I don't know how to answer the question. So
throw strikes or get electrocuted. I think that's what he wants to hear.
Right.
Yeah, I think so, man. It's the ninth inning, could be a challenge to get the last 3 outs. And, it's the easiest thing in the world, like when people say, oh, my gosh, you got a 4-run lead, don't use your closer.
Right.
And then you got to use your closer or you give it up, and it's like, so couldn't get it done. They had some at-bats. The leadoff walk didn't help the cause. They had 2 seeing-out hits to the right side. And I don't know. I mean, I prefer to talk about the 8 innings where we didn't give up any runs.
Absolutely.
Really well. But, that's just part of it, man. Sometimes those last 3 are hard to get. We had it in Kansas City. We've had it, earlier in the season, with a 6-0 lead. But we ended up having to use Robert. And, like I said, it's just people can say what they want about the last 3 outs, but it's an acquired taste to get people to learn to get them. And that's the other point to the conversation. You got to learn it. And that's a learning curve in the ninth that people don't really want to deal with the league. But if you don't give those guys those opportunities, they don't learn from them. So it's that's 22.
See, you crushed that answer. Yeah. You knew how to answer that question. It was
great.
Know
what he's crushed also, Mike? You've always explained how you manage real people in the real world that are, not always feeling 100% or tired. It's a long season. There's not a lot of days off. As fans, especially me, I'm a radio host. I manage on paper, in my mind. Sure. And I look at the off days coming up. You had one yesterday. You got one Monday. You got 2 more next week. And I look, well, maybe you could, get Dylan Cease out there. He's pitching so well and move him up a day. How do you look at that in that equation? Is there no thought, I don't want to move him up. I want to give him those extra days off? Or is that something you might look at here before the All-Star break with now the extra off days that you've got coming up?
Yeah, I mean, we'd be responsible not to look at it, right?
Yeah.
So we do. Me and Ruben look at it. We partner with AJ in the front office, and we also talk to our players. And it's not it's not in a vacuum. It's
right.
What can be best for Dylan Cease is X. What can be best for Michael King is Y. What's best for Matt Waldron is Z. Vasquez, Mazer, etc. And so, individually you can say, yeah, we could do this with Dylan. Oh, but how's that impact Michael? And how's that impact Matt? And what do we got on Adam and Randy? So, we put it all together and figure out, the balancing act of making sure that, the competition is taken care of, the rest is taken care of, and then, of course, the short term versus the long term of what that can look like. And we do our best we can to balance all that. And we've had some, like I say, conversation with them and some internal conversations, and we put the best play that we can lay out there together with all the variables.
Mike, I really appreciate it. Before you go, any updates on you, Darvish? I know we saw Xander Bogaerts taking some batting practice before you guys went on the road trip. Just kind of overall general health updates on your team.
Yeah, so it looks like Darvish. The imaging is negative, so it's positive. Nothing overly alarming with that. I do think he was going to seek another image, which is pretty standard. And then it's just a matter of, getting inflammation out, which is the biggest culprit, it feels like right now. What's taking place in his elbow, getting it out and getting to where he can play catch and recover. The longer he stays away, the longer it's going to, longer he can't throw, the longer it's going to be for him to get back. So no real, great timeline there. Bogey's trending in a really good place. Going to have another scan soon, CT scan that'll determine how much further he's healed. The most recent one was favorable. Looks like he's a little bit ahead of schedule, but the next one will be the one that allows us to determine with him how much he can ramp up. But the good news is he's taking ground balls, he's taking some swings, and then, like I say, relative to the next one will be how much the volume you can take to where you can start to get some live at bats and potentially rehab and get back, working with us. So good news on that front. He's with us, obviously, as we return to Boston, so I'm sure that'll be bittersweet for him. But I know this organization is going to do something to reward his really productive time here.
Arise back from his ouchie?
We're determining that.
Determining that one, okay. And have fun managing at Fenway Park. I mean, that's got to be kind of special for anybody gets to go in there. It's a temple of baseball history.
Oh, it's amazing. Yeah, I love coming here, and I'm right here in the dugout right now looking at this beautiful field.
Awesome.
So life is good, very blessed.
All right, well, have a good one.
Thanks,
good series, and keep up the good work. As we said, very impressive week, and we'll talk to you. Actually, 2 weeks. You got next Friday off with the 4th of July holiday, so we'll talk to you in a couple of weeks, Skip.
Oh, you guys aren't working?
No, we're not working.
Yeah, we're taking a 4-day weekend,
off,
of course.
Man.
Like,
Oh,
we're not baseball players.
We play, and you guys, country club. Okay,
right.
all right. Well,
believe it.
I'll see you next month.
See you next month.
There we go. All right, All-Star break. Here we go.